Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to DreamHack Dallas. I'm Tony, this is Walshy, and did you predict that Optic would be playing against Quadrant once again for the right to make it to Championship Sunday here in the lower bracket? You had to predict that, right?
Absolutely. As clear as day, we all knew this would happen. Oh my God, what kind of bracket and tournament do we have thus far? Let alone having this Quadrant roster somehow taking down Optic in pool play yesterday. Taking a look at the series lineup, though, we got Strongholds, Livefire, Street Slayer, King of the Hill on Recharge, CTF on Argyle, one of the first times we'll see it up here, and then Slayer on Aquarius.
Yeah, I love the fact that this is starting off on Strongholds, at least if you're a fan of Quadrant, because we saw Quadrant open up in that game one back in pool play on Strongholds. It's their bread and butter. And it's here on Livefire. Optic going up against Quadrant, the rematch. It was a 3-0 for Quadrant earlier. Maybe Optic can get revenge here.
We will have to see, because when I hear Livefire, I think of Optic. This is one of the maps that we started to see ridiculous plays from Lucid. We started to see them really explore and utilize the sandbox. Can they keep control of that playground? We'll find out right now. We're kicking off with TchiK from Quadrant.
I promise you, at the end of this series, we will be painting the banners green, but will it be Quadrant? Will it be Optic? But what a flank coming in from TchiK. Sniper, first kill, and it looks like an immediate 2 down for Optic Gaming. Love that play by TchiK.
Yeah, I like this play, but are they going to position well enough here in a second for this OS? It looks like TchiK's teammates pushing on over, got the Shroud, and that's going to be OS going for SLG. Shroud doesn't matter, though, as he hits that 6 snipe onto TriPPPeY, and that's going to be the kills that they need to move on. That's going to be 3 down. Lucid, last member alive.
Overshield and Sniper in the hands of Quadrant here, and they're able to play up right through because of it. They already have Charlie. Now you see him start to work for Alpha, and you know SLG with the extra shields. He already has most damage for this team. He wanted to take the challenge, ends up going down, but Quadrant quickly there for the cleanups.
Yeah. Quadrant in the cleanups, and they know these players are here back tower. They just don't know how many. Look at this fort hold right there back at Mud near Plasma Pistol. That's going to be 2 more cleared out. So TriPPPeY and APG, the last 2 alive, they're going to try to stop the bleeding, and they have split spawn. So this could be good or bad for Optic. Looking like it's bad because TriPPPeY's getting isolated in 2v1.
Optic ended up trading out that overshield and that sniper for ultimately for first points on the board, but now Quadrant opened up with the trip cap, and they still have the resources in hand. TchiK looking for the spawn trap over toward the green side. Optic do steal 1, but it takes 2 to tango.
Yeah, Optic know that sandbags area is going to be a threat. What a nice heads-up play there by TchiK, trying to help across the map. Does get the ping onto TriPPPeY and the finish from SLG, and now just going to take a one-on-one against Formal. Who's going to come out ahead here? Repulse versus Repulse, BR versus BR. TchiK on a killing spree.
This is what Quadrant missed over at Charlotte. Like, TchiK is such a playmaker, he's such a difference maker, and you're seeing it right here. 5-0, 4 assists to go along with it. The man is absolutely going off right now. Repulses him back, almost making the play. Sica with the double kill off screen. Quadrant keep the lead.
Repulses back and forth, unbelievable here. And Quadrant off to the start that they're hoping for. I mean, if you asked me about this matchup prior to the tournament, if you asked me about this any other time besides before Quadrant beat Optic yesterday, I would say yes, clearly it's an Optic victory. They're going to win 3-0 or 3-1. But all of a sudden, everything's been flipped on its head. This series could go either way with these 2 squads. Quadrant are literally making European Halo history today right in front of our eyes.
Quadrant not only outslaying Optic, but outplaying them at every single objective. I said it before, this is their bread and butter. Quadrant are a Strongholds team, and this is a great way for them to build momentum. Play them on your best game type and dominate them like you're seeing right now. 122-32 lead. Quadrant not slowing down for anything.
And look at this trip cap. Just putting this constant pressure on. As soon as these members stand in the stronghold, they're flying forward and putting on this pressure, somehow taking out the MVP Lucid Lqgend, making a case for himself and going up in window, staying alive.
Sniper still in the hands of Lqgend. You're seeing Optic try to rotate over toward the Charlie side, but the moment that they do that, Quadrant, they take the road less traveled, they break it right over towards Alpha, still holding on to AMB. Then when it comes to the fisticuffs, they're willing to fight as well. The no-scope to the body, finishing him off with the BR. Legend still lives, Quadrant still thrive.
Just look at how slippery these players are consistently from the Quadrant side. As soon as they take some damage, they're not afraid to back down, not afraid to no-scope. Legend not a killing spree. But every single time these players are taking damage, they aren't worried about how they're going to jump out and challenge and win that fight. Instead, they're looking for their escapes. They're looking how they can buy a couple more seconds of time so they can get help from the quick Quadrant members.
The wise words of Barney Stinson. This man is Legend. Wait for it. Barry! Double kill comes in. Still holding on to that S7 for dear life. Optic have to get the sniper out of his hands if they want to make anything happen because they're still down by over 100 points. Quadrant are punishing Optic.
And just like that, they're keeping trip cap after trip cap, point after point. I want to go to a listen with the French squad and Quadrant and hear how they're communicating as they're taking down Optic.
Répulseur pilier, c'est Lucid.
Nice! Big down, big down, big down.
Il y a Lucid.
J'avance pas wall, j'avance pas wall. Plat, oui, stripé sur moi.
Je t'aide,
Je suis mort. Le mec roule sur moi. One shot plat, Légende.
One shot pilier Lucid, il avait qu'un wave. Il va mode entre pilier et mode. Entre pilier et mode. Et one shot derrière pilier.
Il va mort.
Nice, deux morts, toujours deux morts.
50 secondes.
J'ai spoon mode, Big door, formal qui va deep maintenant, un peu weak.
Gardez la pression, je vais
Ok. Attention, ta gauche.
T'as 20 weak, t'as 20 weak.
Je vais
Dans la vente,
un petit, deux one shot,
Je te suis, je te suis.
Va sur moi.
Je push avec toi, ça va.
Demi-door, le dernier, demi-door, APG. Il va cut, je crois. Sûrement cut.
Je suis sur un.
Le dernier,
ouais,
je vais B.
Non, one shot cut. One shot
Il y a un mec qui va
top one shot.
Nous manque 25 secondes. 25 secondes.
Training one shot, formal.
Nice!
Encore pile. Il est low, pas que
Je suis one shot.
On peut finir sur un 2
Pilier one Lucid. Il va sur B one shot. Nice, bridge après le dernier, je
Il
crois.
reste 15 secondes, on peut finir sur un 2 cap.
Je bloque.
Il y a du drawback, ils vont jouer peut-être un.
Right there, I couldn't have said it better myself. Legend coming out with that killing frenzy. I heard what he was saying. I'm going off. Give me every power weapon. Let me loose. Legend is absolutely out of control, working on a running riot. Who can stop this man? Apparently, not Optic.
What a statement there, and some statements transcend language barriers. You heard those screams. You know that's a sick kill or a sick out BR. 250 to 39 Quadrant taking game number 1 over Optic.
But we know Strongholds is their best game type. Now I want to see if they're able to answer back in game number 2. Optic have been knocked down a peg, but they're certainly not knocked out of the series. Going into this Slayer, I know they're going to bounce back. I'm taking a look at some of the kills, and man, they heavily favored Quadrant. I mean, obviously, Legend going on a killing frenzy.
Yeah,
the only thing that stopped them
happen.
was the score line. That was the only thing that stopped Legend.
Legend going on an 11 kill spree to end that game. Next game is going to be Slayer on the Streets. This is also a map that when I watched Quadrant, I was super impressed with how fast they are. And if I'm going to be honest, when I looked at stats before, if I recall correctly, Streets, Slayer specifically, was one of the weaker ones here for Optic. So this really could be looking dire here for Optic if they do not take this game number 2. They need to bounce back right here and tie up the series.
But there's a reason why you said that. I mean, I'm looking at the series going into pool play. It was a 50 to 45 win in favor of Quadrant. This is the exact game 2 that we saw in pool play, and history might be doomed to repeat itself. However, I will say it's a new day. A new Optic, a more determined, a more motivated one, especially losing that game number 1. I can only imagine the green wall, the green monster. What do we call them nowadays? I can only imagine Optic going to bounce back here in game 2.
Yeah, there is no excuses here from Optic. They know how strong the squad is. They're coming in here hot off of an unfortunate loss there against Space Station and their tournament life at stake. So if you're going to see the best Optic, it's going to be with their backs against the wall, the green wall.
I'm looking at this picture of SLG with the sunglasses down. Let me tell you, if I'm staring at that man across the screen, I'm walking away. That man looks too confident. He looks too comfortable. But it was Legend, most damage on one side. Meanwhile, Forward with a decent KD going on the opposite side. Not enough, obviously, to slow down Quadrant. If there's an MVP of that match, even without the stats, the eyeball test tells you it was Legend.
And right there, I'm just wondering what's going through the comms right there. Lucid pumping up his team, maybe saying, I'm not mad, but I'm disappointed right there. Let's step it up.
That's the worst.
They need to pick it up right here. And one problem, like I said, this squad is thriving in these fast-paced environments. So Slayer Streets, Quadrant are going to be able to move fast if they'd like. So we're going to see. They clearly are confident. You aren't getting a killing frenzy unless you're playing good and playing confident. Quadrant know they can do this. They did it in pool play. Can lightning strike twice?
I just got goosebumps and flashbacks from when my father used to say that. I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. Oh my gosh, but you know what? Maybe that's what it takes. Maybe that's what it takes to wake up the troops. They get right back in it. You're in my opinion, the desperation of must-win game 2. You've already been swept by Quadrant. Don't put yourself in an opportunity to get swept again. Match them in game number 2. Bring it to a sweep in game 3. But it starts here on Streets.
I like that start from Lqgend, just dodging the spots where nades are typically coming from. Poking out right after that, gets a one-on-one against Formal, trades out the 2-shot melee. Rockets going down the center, it's still not in the hands. It looks like it's going to go in the hands of MVP, a.k.a. Lucid.
Lucid making sure the A side is cleared out. Nobody home just yet. I see TchiK over toward the subway side. Then I see 3 members of Quadrant pushing the strong side, pushing B and Arcade. That's what they want to control, and it looks like Optic aware of that, so the defense is up. Next kill going to be so important here.
And just a flock of players heading on over towards Cafe, and that's where the battle's going to be for these Rockets. Rockets on the ground. No one's going to let those just go easily, and the fight has begun and has not stopped. Optic up 2 kills during that exchange, still keeping their 2-kill lead as kills are traded out back and forth.
Switching gears over towards APG, does have a teammate on the tire side, but Quadrant continue to send 3 members over towards Bravo. We saw the pivot going across the map. This time Quadrant not doing that again. They are headbutting Optic, and apparently it hurts. 3 kills consecutively in a row for Optic. And it looks like the 4th one gonna fall as well. Optic heating up.
And APG blocking the tram spawns. Checking real quick on Cafe, they know the spawns now. The situation's gonna be over at PD, and Formal's in such a strong position. Look at this constriction coming in from both sides. There is no way out except for charging out B side, and it looks like these Quadrant members decide to go towards tires and hightail it.
Looks like one of his teammates goes down. The second one does as well. Quadrant responds back, but APG with the Bulldog. Once again, slowing down Quadrant. Once again, holding on to their lead, 12-7.
5-kill lead, that is nothing to scoff at, especially this early on. New Rockets just popped. Can TchiK do anything with these off the rack? Kills APG. TriPPPeY's also down. Now we have Quadrant on the offensive.
There's any chance that Quadrant going to come back in this game? It might be on the backs of the power weapons, especially that rocket TchiK opening up a hole right into the defense of the green wall, pushing right up to the Cafe side. Avoid those nades, avoid that shroud, but Quadrant can't slow down here. Double push out of Optic, going to chase them away just momentarily. Love that cleanup kill by TchiK. Now working on to the second, but once again, you find out how strong that shotgun is in the hands of APG.
Yeah, APG's got that dog in him. He continues to pull out that weapon and make good use of it. He is now gonna push on back towards Backtram. We're gonna see what happens here with Quadrant. I feel like so many times we've seen Quadrant cluster up in groups of 2 or 3 and then push on out towards the side of the map. Here's one of the first times we're kind of seeing them fan out, hold up from stronger positions, and try to lure some members of Optic into their traps.
We talked about, Wes and the Des talked about how APG was kind of struggling in the KD department, but going this game 7-3 right now. 2 assists to go along with it. That Bulldog, obviously a large part of it. Now Lqgend with a Bulldog of his own. He gonna let that thing bark and finds 2. He says, let me just back down. Let me slow my roll just a little bit.
Decides to double back, eventually takes out APG and holds on to his life, but throughout these exchanges, Optic have still been going even or head and trace as they still hold a 6-kill lead. Now, how are Quadrant going to change this out? They have a new set of rockets coming up at the 8-minute mark, which is in 20 seconds. They need to break through this Optic defense and make use of these rockets.
Quadrant have not deviated from pushing this arcade side, pushing the strong side of the map. We know how strong it can be, and lots of times you're playing against a team like Optic, you try to adapt and maybe overextend over towards purple. Not Quadrant. They're right in here and fighting for the rockets. Lqgend biting off a little bit more than he can chew. TriPPPeY with a huge double.
TriPPPeY with grenades galore, saving those for the moment that rockets were coming up. Tossing one over towards Cafe to get a kill. Throwing a spike grenade, also getting a kill at Tires. Just doing a strong job of saving those grenades at the crucial time and extending this Optic lead to a 10-kill lead.
No more rockets left here. TriPPPeY forced to play his life on the PD side. He does have reinforcements coming in quick. APG, the first kill onto Quadrant, forcing the 4v3. That allows Optic to start to get aggressive, but what a nade coming out of SLG.
Great nade by SLG, and some might be wondering, why did TriPPPeY challenge that fight there? TriPPPeY knew too much pressure was coming from PD, and that was his best 1v1 that he could isolate. So he tried to take down SLG in a suitable 1v1. Even though he's at a disadvantage, he'd rather force the fight when he has the best odds.
Sometimes you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them. If you're going to go down, put down as much damage as possible and make sure you clear that A side. So far, Quadrant's still controlling it. APG finding a huge angle over on the cone side. Can't quite find the kill here, but backs down quick, plays his life. APG buying enough time for his teammate to come in, almost gets the backs back. It looks like he's still gonna get that kill. That's gonna be huge for APG and Optic as once again, B side being cleared out.
APG being so sneaky and being a thorn in the side of Quadrant. That whole push was incredible. Doing damage, faking like he was over at PD, forcing Sica to search through PD, wasting time, giving his teammates just numbers across the whole map, shooting that grenade on the ground. APG just doing so good for his squad.
The same way you saw Quadrant dominate in that game number 1 is the same way that Optic respond right back. They refuse to be swept here when it matters most in the elimination bracket. They are coming for blood. They're coming back for the lead in the series.
APG knows there's a lot of pressure coming from B and Tower, eventually taken out, but the lead has been extended to now 12 kills. Looks like Optic continuing to hold on to this tramp setup and happy to just allow Quadrant to stay over at Tower and PD. During these neutral exchanges, they've been coming out ahead. Lucid just jumping away, trying not to get picked off. Somehow Lqgend able to hit that with a bandit.
Just 11 more kills needed for Optic Gaming to close things out. And it's not that Quadrant really are out of reach as far as the score line. It's just that they only need 10 more kills as Optic so they can afford themselves to trade out lives. Even bad ones, 1v2s, 1v1s, it doesn't matter. Everything inches them closer and closer to that 50 kill mark. We're already at 42.
42 indeed, and a full set of rockets in APG's hands. Here he has 12 kills. Let's see if he can extend it to 13 with this last rocket here in just a moment. But he's got control of this tires area. He has the height advantage and just trying to look to see someone to overextend. Wisely does not shoot the rocket. Get greedy, save that. He knows someone's over at planner side, so that's why you saw a pre-fire from APG. The only way that Optic are really going to lose this is if they get staggered spawns, if they give up those power-ups or power weapons. And so in a case like that, rather shoot it to be safe.
Quadrant not going to give up, though, easily. You're seeing, once again, the 3-man push now coming in as they start to rotate over toward that purple side. Really, for the first time, this Quadrant, as they've been favoring the arcade, Foremost sitting high with the Stalker. Lqgend opens things up with a big double kill off screen. Will it be enough? Apparently not. Foremost brings us to 47 now. Just 3, make that 2. Make that 1 more kill needed for Optic to tie up the series.
No excuses, no apologies needed. This is looking like it's going to be an Optic game number 2.
You hear the chants in the crowd. The Optic fans started to make some noise here as they're looking for their final one. Apparently, Quadrant not making it easy, though. The backstack comes in, a win for SLG. Finally, it comes in, making it tough. But Optic take game number 2. We're going to that swing game 3.
That's a big, big win for Optic. Like you said before, Streets was a game they lost to Quadrant earlier. They made some adjustments. You know that squad checked out some film, learned what their mistakes they did yesterday, and adjusted accordingly. Now they're going into a game number 3, which is going to be King of the Hill on Recharge.
And King of the Hill new territory for both of these, at least as far as matching up in this tournament. They played so far in that capture the flag. They played so far strongholds. We've never seen both of these teams play King of the Hill, and I would imagine King of the Hill favors Optic a little bit more. This could be good for the OG fans.
We could see, yeah. I mean, it's really tough to tell during these situations because, yes, this game slowed down a bit, but there's plenty of times where as fast and Optic were prevailing. I know I've been using kind of that talking point a lot throughout this weekend about the speed of the game, but it really does factor into how teams are playing well. If your team has the advantage and has a numbers advantage, that game pace picking up faster is better for your team. You're trying to scramble and find fights as quick as you can. You're trying to use your numbers advantage as much as you can. And when I look at something like Recharge King of the Hill, there's going to be a lot of slower periods. So we will have to see if that comes into play here. But if not, I mean, both these teams, they know how to play both styles. We're basically as evenly matched you can get when it comes to these two rosters, at least on this day here at DreamHack Dallas.
The Quadrant have been killing it all tournament long, and mind you, they might have slipped a little bit around one. Native Red did get the best of them, but for stylistically, I really don't like Quadrant versus Native Red. I like Quadrant versus Optic. I think they can throw them a curveball. I also think they're not afraid of Optic, so I will say I like Quadrant stylistic versus Optic. Just not a King of the Hill.
Yeah, it's surprising because I would say when I compare these playstyles, I would compare Quadrant and Native Red as very, very similar. Is that very aggressive playstyle, constant pressure, sneaky flank, sneaky plays. And I would, prior to this tournament, say that Native Red executed better. And clearly they did it better against Quadrant earlier today when they played in brackets. So this is confusing. I mean, it's a very similar playstyle, but it seems to be working a little bit stronger against Optic here in the form of Quadrant.
But it's that defense that the green wall puts up. I'm telling you, it's going to take more than a wrecking ball to break through, and hopefully Quadrant can do so, because when it comes to King of the Hill, it's about getting into your position faster. It's about holding on to your setups, and then ultimately also having the awareness. If you don't have that hill, be willing to rotate, be willing to give up and move on to the next one. The team that can defend and out-rotate their opponents are going to come out with the win. Who will it be, Quadrant or Optic Gaming?
What an interesting start there also from those two members of Optic. They hide their locations by charging across the top there over that elevator ledge, and then they drop down at the same time in case somebody felt that they could go all the way towards long haul or closer to batteries, and then they could double team anyone who was over at glass. So they don't reveal themselves as slowly. Instead, they both poke out the exact same time there.
These opening strategies so important, and Quadrant kind of won it a bit, but we see Optic start to bounce right back. So we saw that camouflage and the shock find the hands of Quadrant, but we also saw Optic recover right then and there. SLG willing to challenge the reigning MVP, clearing out the C side. When that hill's over towards mid, you really want to see plat control.
You saw both teams vying for that control, but Quadrant rolls 3 deep in their squad as they're able to clear out those 2 members over at Hydro and are rewarded with control room. This spot is the more important spot for the bottom center hill. Reason being is you can flush out to 2 different angles towards the elevator side or Mangler pit, and then you can also go towards C-plat to get those 2 crucial angles on the hill. That's why both those teams are going for control.
Big kill on SLG, and also having the awareness to back down and play his life, but he runs right into the angle from the bottom mid players of Optic Gaming, already working on that hill progression and already clearing Quadrant out at the same time. Optic so good at that multitasking. Now they get out, they clear the tower side. Optic Gaming, they're heating up. So is Formal.
Formal getting a double, almost getting the trip. TchiK, the last one alive, and not going to be able to poke out to stop this hill. This is going to be time going in the favor of APG and the Optic team. He did grab or go near that camo. It's not up just yet. Surprising he took a new angle there. Must have knew where new spawns were coming out.
TchiK snap, stripping that shock rifle away from Optic, putting to use immediately. We see him get the headshot onto one. Can't quite play his life, and Quadrant do end up going forward down. That's going to be devastating because we're seeing a 1-0 lead coming for Optic Gaming.
Lucid grabbing that camo, gonna go fight over and control, knows that there's at least one member here and has to be aware that others might be shortly after, so trying to hide and buy some time, but that's gonna be first point going for Optic, and they have control of the second hill.
And not only did Optic take that first hill, but also knowing that quads are going to spawn over toward the A side, manipulating those spawns and making them have the longest rotation possible while also getting that progress on the second hill. Optic playing phenomenal. Halo heads up and always thinking one step ahead. Lucid finds himself the kill onto SLG. Finds himself the long-range shots onto Lqgend. Doesn't get the kill, but most importantly, he goes down and Optic have numbers.
And also with Lqgend cleaning up that kill, that was Legend's first kill this game. So Lqgend went from getting a killing frenzy there in game number 1 to effectively being shut down here in game number 3. We're going to have to see how he rallies back throughout the rest of Recharge King of the Hill.
A little bit of team damage here as Optic prioritizing the C head glitch. We see Quadrant start to make that rotation all the way down to the long haul side. Actually, 3 members, and with the nades coming in, APG gets ripped off of that head glitch. TriPPPeY not able to survive as well. Quadrant might have successfully broken Optic Gaming setup.
They've broken it, but is it too late? They need to effectively hold this for a long time and get a couple rounds of slays. Optic are afforded the ability to take a long flank route. They don't need to just go charging across the map. And just like this, Optic are going to reposition. They're not going to fight the hill until they have a numbers advantage or until they have people in multiple spots. And that's Formal with a steady long-range shot, making SLG back down.
At least SLG is staying alive here, but you don't want to challenge Formal from long range. Close range is where he thrives. Lucid down to 1 shot, but not quite out. Optic do find that hill, though. Quadrant got to do something to get them out. They might just steal it away. One ends up hitting the black screen. The back smack does end up coming in. Optic not quite done with hill 2. Quadrant still have a chance.
Quadrant fended off the first offensive there from Optic. They just have to do it one more time, and this hill is theirs. Is APG going to dip his toes in there and try to secure this last one? No. Going to play it wise. Going to go for a slay and then make the move. Lqgend, 1 down. This is a 4v3 for Optic that they have for the next few seconds, and they're going to push that advantage. APG and Lucid pushing in C-plat. They get the kill. They're grabbing the hill, and they're going to go up 2-0.
They didn't have to dip their toes in to know the water is hot. Patience was key on that one, making sure they secured the damage, then eventually the slays, and just taking their time and not panicking leads to Optic with the 2-0, and also Formal with that shot, the perfect onto the first. Can't quite find the second one, but SLG, looks like, I was going to say I thought the shot was out of ammo, but looks like he ends up finding it.
Gets a couple shots here left, but we're going to see what he can do with this last bullet. Knows where this player must be, trying to nade APG out of that corner, but Elevator's just such a tough step to break because you have to round the corner and then fight in odd numbers. So right there, trying to make a desperate push, but that's going to be a 3rd hill going over for Optic, just dominating this game number 3.
We're noticing with Quadrant is when these hills are stagnant as opposed to strongholds, we can out-rotate your opponent. When they're in one spot and Optic know where you're coming from, they're having a tough time breaking completely. Optic have just been holding on to these setups. They know where Quadrant's coming from. They make sure that awareness, and they're addressing every single lane. Eventually that turns to kills, which turns into points. Optic 1 hill away from taking this game and the lead in the series.
Yeah, this one's going to be tough here for Quadrant. They somehow have to scrape this one back, go over towards the Needler Hill, and then afterwards take a couple hills that they lost earlier. It's a tall order and a tall hill to climb, and it's going to be even tougher to climb that hill when Lucid's in it, as he's going for the throat here of Quadrant. They don't want to just run off this clock. They could try just to slay. Instead, they're going for this time, and look at how he just uses that pillar right there to block off the angle from top glass.
Quadrant may have gotten first progression on the hill, but Optic, they take the lead here and take control. Now they're quickly approaching that halfway mark. Shot is out, but SLG with the triple, that'll slow you down.
SLG also going for APG, doing the montage respect, saying, all right, I'll at least give the challenge if you can hit it. I respect that as a montage kid myself back in the day. I hated the people that just ran away and didn't give you the chance. But Lqgend and crew, they had their opening. They had a sick individual play. Are they going to be able to do anything with it? Instead, one player taken out in the hill. TriPPPeY going to try to scrap up a little more time, forcing SLG to try to fight here. But SLG's already weak. TchiK's also down bottom center. They're in inferior spots right now. Quadrant members are just collapsing in one by one through bottom center, falling right into Optic's trap.
Quadrant desperately needed someone to make a play. SLG answered their prayers, but there was no follow-through coming with it. Optic Gaming just take control once again, and now we're talking about, what, just 1 or 2 seconds away from grabbing that hill. Your hand delivered the shock rifle to Lucid, and now you're going to pay because of it.
Yeah, Lucid heard your prayers, and he said denied. He is just going to go on a tear right here, trying to close out this game number 3. Now that they have 3 down, we have a chance here for Quadrant. There's enough time for them to hold off Formal, unless he gets a nasty stick reversal like that. Trying to hold off Formal as they scrap up some time and try to get 1 hill on the board.
Hold on here, Quadrant not only able to get away with that camouflage, but also have a decent hill time. They got those toes, and like you mentioned before, but 3 members of Optic Gaming surround the C-plat here. Lqgend cross-map shot from Formal goes in for the challenge. Struggling in this game so far, but that's a big pivotal battle by him. Can he stop Optic from stealing it away? Yes, he can. Chases the final player out, steals that hill. Quadrant, they're on the board.
They are on the board, and they have this turbine / Needler hill that they can try to acquire, but unfortunately, Optic Gaming 1 step ahead. You're not going to be able to grab that hill unless you get control of Elevator, and 3 members of Quadrant are nowhere near Elevator right now. Right here, we have Lqgend trying to break through 1-on-2. Somehow gets the finish over on TriPPPeY. Trying to fight Formal, gets the double kill. Somehow breaking through here despite the numbers disadvantage.
Quadrant may not have had enough elevator presence, but what they did have was a Lqgend. Takes the 1v2, looks good while doing it. Not only clearing the A side, which is exactly what Quadrant wants to spawn, but now we see Quadrant planting feet within the hill, making a home here. But here comes Formal.
Looking the wrong way as you enter control room. Is going to cost the life there. Formal's going to take over control room and then take over elevator. In a situation like this, I wouldn't be surprised to see Optic just try to slay it out and deny this time, because this next hill is going to be in bottom center. Lucid trying to buy a few more seconds, almost takes out Lqgend. Luckily gets the kill there, and this is going to be a strong setup, especially since Quadrant know where Optic are spawning. Since Optic are spawning over at C and Hydro, they have to take long routes. They have to go through long haul. They have to push through control. They're not going to be a real present threat towards that hill anytime soon, and that's going to be 2nd point. Not on the board just yet for some reason.
3 down for Quadrant. Lucid gets himself a free camouflage, uncontested. Quadrant so close to taking this hill. We see them step out of it, maybe to try to get some positioning here, but will that bite them in the butt? As Lucid, man in the Whirlpool side, easy assist coming out of him. That's back-to-back 3 downs going in favor of Optic as he takes down yet another one. Quadrant struggling to stay alive on the map, let alone get some frags.
Most people would be panicking in the situation. Lucid somehow has time for a nose scratch in the midst of all this chaos as you looked at that player cam. 10 seconds left on the board, and they're just denying Quadrant from stepping their toes inside this hill. They're going to let this one run out, and that's going to be game number 3 going for Optic Gaming, 3-1.
Quadrant was so close to going back-to-back, though, right there. They were so close to making it interesting, but time simply not on their side. Optic once again taking the lead in this series, and maybe history won't repeat itself. Maybe Optic could have won, so they advance forward. Optic
are looking like they have some answers now to these plays and aggression. However, at the same time, you cannot discount some of those sick challenges. Someone from like Lqgend or SLG getting that triple kill. Lqgend's long-range ego challenge against Formal, from Mangler all the way from Batteries. Just so many sick individual plays. Now, can they piece it together here on a crucial game 4 of Argyle CTF?
The one that kind of sticks in my mind is that when we saw some individual plays, we actually saw some life coming out of Quadrant. What was lacking was really the follow-through. Even this triple kill out of SLG was insane, but it took only a matter of seconds for Optic to take control and to clear out that seaside. Eventually, Quadrant take the hill, but we got to see them come in for 1, come in from 2, and keep it going. Turn those hills ultimately into games, and hopefully they could do that in game 4.
God, I love seeing all these sick individual plays from these players. This one is going to be an incredible match as we see this one round out here in game number 4 of Argyle CTF. If we are ever so lucky, we may see a game 5 of Aquarius Slayer.
is that a sparring just hanging out in the front row? Like, that could have been me out there. Like, he's just chilling right now. You see, the crowd is packed.
Crowd is here and excited.
I heard the Optic chants.
Yes, I also saw Methods trying to start an Optic chant earlier. We have the crowd out here just pumped for some incredible Halo action. It's also just incredible being here at DreamHack. I love seeing so many different esports under one roof. It's always been my passion. That's kind of how I grew up playing Halo competitive tournaments, was I would see all these different fighting games tournaments like Smash, or I'd see other sports games tournaments, and it was just incredibly on the same roof here at DreamHack Dallas.
It really has been incredible, and an incredible opportunity here for Quadrant to once again take down the world champion Optic, the ones who are trying to four-peat and back-to-back-to-back land champions, which is crazy. Quadrant already 3-0'd them in pool play, but now have found himself in a must-win scenario here in Game 4, and lights are on. Expectations are here. Can Quadrant answer?
They can indeed, and they have one chance right here. You see fist bumps go out. That means game is loading up in just a short period of time. We'll have to see how they decide to kick this one off. I mean, we're going to see a couple snipers here on this map. That could be the moment or opportunity that we need here from the Quadrant side if they want to bring this back, because we saw what happened when SLG got that shock rifle, pulling out a sick triple kill. How can they set up and prime themselves with these power weapons to make some plays?
Back in pool play, we saw Optic go up 2-0 on Aquarius CTF. But they had it to me about a minute and a half where Quadrant went in and put 3 flag caps in a row. It seemed almost impossible, but they were able to do just that. Now we're going into capture the flag once again, but it's new territory. It's Argyle. Couple of grapples, couple of snipers, and that just means more snipes for Optic.
Oh my God, TriPPPeY and Lucid both taking the lift, and they end up being some skeet shots there for the members of Quadrant as they just get picked off one by one, flying in the air.
You see the sidekick in the hands of Lucid, and man, we saw the damage that he can do over in that lower bracket against Space Station Gaming. He wants to continue to do it with that sidekick, but it was TchiK that ends up with the camouflage. Slow and steady may just win the race. TchiK just waiting for the right opportunity. There we go, he finds one. Tags him up, but trades out his life. Not exactly what you want to see out of your camo.
No, you just saw how cautious he was moving across the map, respecting Optic so much, just realizing that they are set up in some prime spots, and he's going to potentially round a corner and get shot. Lqgend dealing some sick damage on over to Formal. Is anything going to happen from it? Looks like no. Lucid's going to get a kill of his own, and now Optic are in a position that they can move across the map. Now that they've dealt with one player, now that they know Camo's no longer on the map, they can move safely across the map. Before that, they were hunkered down, trying to make sure that they capitalize on any mistakes from the Quadrant end.
Dude, love that thought process out of Lqgend, though, using that grapple to try to get out of dodge, and was almost able to do so. Sadly, Optic did end up hunting him down off screen. I do see Formal was able to take down SLG, so once that 4v3 starts, you give that advantage to Optic. You don't want to go 2 or 3 down. Quadrant, be careful.
Lucid just collecting toys all across the map. Grab some plasma grenades, grab the repulsor, has the disruptor, gonna do anything and everything. And with that, now gonna push on over towards Vent to prepare for this camo. Instead, drops all the way down to try to get some shots on the flag. As 2 are down, the focus is no longer on that camo. Focus is on the flag of Quadrant. Can they get these kills, and can they move that flag out of the base?
Just 2 shots left in the sniper right now, but that's all Lucid may just need. Repulses right up from the low ground to the high and snatches up that camouflage for himself. This could be huge for Optic Gaming, as we've seen 3 members of Quadrant hurdled up in their base.
Lucid, knowing somebody's still near this elbow, gets the pick onto Lqgend, and the team's moving in. That's all 4 down. Optic are in a perfect position. They get to block whatever spawns they want, and look at this awareness. Knowing players are spawning opposite side, gonna push on over towards Optic computers, and they are ready with the shots from the commando.
Flag seems to still be moving here. No overextenders in sight. Flag getting awfully close. Where is the challenge? It looks like Formal gets it all the way toward the doorway. Finally, we start to see some nades or shots, but it's too little, too late. Optic are gonna slam in the first flag, and maybe that's the first of many.
That was a really surprising exchange. Lucid looked for their exact correct spawns, found them, did not see anyone overextending over towards the sniper side, which either way you put it, whether you're going to stop the flag or whether you're trying to grab Optic sniper, it's a good play to go the other way. So it's kind of confusing not to see any members there from Quadrant. Maybe they just felt like they were going to meet too much resistance on that side and decided to go for a different position.
Well, we do see 3 members in enemy territory. Quadrant have the opportunity to possibly counter off of this, and with Lucid firing warning shots, none of them connecting. I thought Quadrant might have the advantage, but both teams end up going 3 down. Momentary 1v1, but that's just time for Optic to spawn up and clear this final player out of their base.
Yeah, Sica behind enemy lines. TriPPPeY gonna clear that out and then push out through computers. We're gonna have to see what TriPPPeY decides to do after this. Looks like Optic plan a lot of times is grab that repulse and then just use it to get back up in towards the top center and be active in the fight. But activity was not what they wanted right during that moment as TriPPPeY falls, APG is weak, and Quadrant are pushing in towards the Optic base.
And this 8-minute mark going to be so important. This is the time where you see both snipers and camouflage coming up all at the exact same time. If there's any chance to make a run and to play through, it's definitely at this point right here. Quadrant having the opportunity to tie things up, especially with Sica with the camo. But I saw them with camo before. I wasn't quite impressed.
Yeah, last camo play we saw from TchiK did not end up transpiring into anything strong. Lucid just knows things are too good to be true. His spidey sense is going off. He's looking around for where this player's coming from. He knows someone behind enemy lines. And that's just going to happen. That's what happens at the highest level of Halo. As soon as you haven't seen a player for a long time, if you killed a couple, even if you have control of your side of the map, you're saying, something's not adding up. We haven't met this much resistance as we're moving across the map. Everyone watch your back, look out for camo. It was grabbed. We need to be careful for a backsmack.
You could tell Sica wanted to trade on that kill with the camouflage. Definitely wanted to take down at least 2 with them. Eventually, Optic get camo off the base. TriPPPeY with the sniper, but the counter snipe comes in. That's going to be SLG. We saw him make plays with the shock over and recharge. Maybe he can do the same with the S7.
Finds in the vent, and TriPPPeY's going to die hard right there as he's trying to push on over. Not going to work out in that case, and not going to like that jump there from SLG as he had the high ground, knew someone was weak, but did not realize he was outnumbered.
TriPPPeY on the pistol side. Doesn't exactly have the help that he wants. Nope, doesn't matter. Takes 1v1. Lqgend comes in quick for the cleanup. With that, Quadrant finally having an advantage as far as numbers, so you're seeing Lqgend, he's controlling this perimeter. He's making sure that nobody's spawning on the snipe side. Right as Optic Gaming sniper is coming up, this could be a big challenge here, but Formal willing to take that one.
Formal win the fight. SLG getting a backsmack onto Lucid with this new camo. So we've been seeing at least 3 camos here in the hands of Quadrant. Can they convert this into a capture? They have the slays. They got 2 members down. They have Optic hunkered in their base. What's the next step? And it's a camo trying to be sniped by Formal, so they need to deal with that sniper before they have any chance of moving that flag across the map.
SLG camoed out, goes in for the challenge. Once again, we see the camouflage hit the black screen, but we also see APG taking height. Quadrant still have the opportunity to push up. All they need is 1 or 2 slays. APG's aware of that, so he's making sure the snipe side is cleared out. Lqgend being chased while one shot. It looks like Quadrant is slowed down just a little bit here on Argyle.
Yeah, and Lqgend, I believe, also had Formal sniper. So even though it wasn't a flagpole or a complete conversion there from Quadrant, they at least took away some small victories there by getting that weapon. Now we're going to have to see what they can do with this sniper in the hands of TriPPPeY, though, because as soon as you get that sniper out of Formal's hands, you got to deal with TriPPPeY's. There's no good player here from the Optic side, if you're a Quadrant fan, to see this sniper in the hands of.
And look at all the time drained off the clock. Just 4.5 minutes here and still only a 1-cap game. Optic seem to be on full defensive mode. Lucid with the double on one side, TriPPPeY with the snipe on the other. 3 down, go Quadrant. Optic advance forward.
Even though Optic has a lead right now, I don't think they're just going to rest on their laurels with this 1-cap lead. If they have the advantage and they have the opportunity, they're going to push in for a 2nd cap to extend that lead. Now with APG falling, they might back up. They might just play it a little safer, but as they get those advantages, they're going to evaluate each opportunity to decide which ones they should take advantage of. That Sica somehow taking out TriPPPeY despite him having that height advantage.
Hey, with airborne right there, but what is this the fifth camouflage we're seeing in the hands of Quadrant? A new strategy for Optic Gaming. Allow your opponents to get camouflage and trick them into thinking they have the advantage.
Yeah, just get montage clips against them as you four-shot or snipe them out, but let's see what SLG can do this. Two snipes, there's one, taking out Lucid. Spots two other members. That's half the team of Optic. They know where every member of Optic is, and they have the flag pulled at the exact same time. This is such a good situation for Quadrant. I do not know how Optic stopped this unless somebody goes clutch, and that flag is moving too far and too fast. We got ourselves a tie game shortly, Tony.
With Optic Gaming going 3 down, nobody even gets a shot onto Quadrant as they punch that one in. Finally, we're seeing some life here in a desperation game 4. Tied up at 1 apiece, plenty of time for anything can happen, and we can talk about how important that camouflage is, and Quadrant finally make use of one.
TchiK, knowing that somebody has to be on the side. Teams aren't just stacking one side of the map unless they are spawn forced to and they're in a dire situation. So every single time these players are doing shot across the map, they quick go check their own back. They say, all right, there's got to be someone on my lane, on my side. So they do this delicate dance of cross-mapping, worrying about their lane. Cross-mapping, worrying about the lane. They kind of help each other ladder across the map as they move along Argyle.
SLG putting his 18th kill on the board. Lqgend with the double. Once again, Quadrant open things up. They outslay Optic when it matters most. They're already in the base. Now we see a killing spree out of Lqgend. The low ground player in Lucid can't get his flank off. We do see some overextenders coming in. It's both formal and APG. Quadrant will be contested as they move this flag in, and we see a standoff.
We see a standoff, but in the favor here of Quadrant, Optic have not moved this flag far enough across the map to make it much of a threat. Right now, Quadrant can all push back to their own base. That's going to be all 4 dead. Flag going to be returned soon here. Sica's going to go do it himself and set up his teammate for a flag cap. But somehow Lucid, cross map, gets the finish here. And these members of Quadrant are a bit discombobulated. They're not sure how many they should allocate towards getting the flag recovery, how many towards the flag run. And just like that, Optic are extend this a little further, and that's going to be a Quadrant lead here within the final minute and 30 seconds of Argyle CTF.
Despite the fact that Sica ends up going down right as he goes for the return, Quadrant do not panic. They wait for their teammates to come up. They play both the touch and the return at the same time, and now it's Quadrant once again in the driver's seat. 2-1, 1 minute and 12 seconds. Optic are the ones who have to make a move.
No fear as they get these challenges across. Lucid, the last one alive over near the flag, and Quadrant are just trying to play defense best they can. Lucid doing everything, staying alive under the base, clearing out shots, eventually gets taken out by Lqgend, but the damage has been done. Lucid extended his team's life a little bit longer so they might have a chance of pulling another flag. But Argyle's a big map. You have to cover a lot of ground in order to get over there, and we saw how this is stalemated out so many times before.
And for what seems like the first time this game, Formal and Optic have camo. And now, with just 30 seconds on the clock, this might be their last chance to try to get a cap off Quadrant. Thought they were watching almost every angle. So far, Formal down to 1 shot. He's not able to stay alive. TchiK takes him down. Lqgend follows through with a kill. Optic go 3 down. That's a desperation pull coming in. It's not going anywhere. Quadrant may have just done it.
Such a smart play by TchiK there at the end. Getting the info from his teammates, even looking over at the screen to see where TriPPPeY was. He knew TriPPPeY had to desperately grab that flag, the only member of Optic that was in position to. He ran away and forced TriPPPeY to grab that into a less ideal situation.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are going into a Game 5. Optic, they may have taken control in that Game 3, but Quadrant, they got that momentum. And mind you, it kind of reminds me back in pool play. We saw Optic go 2-0 and capture the flag on Aquarius. We saw Quadrant have to make a late Game 1. We talked about a minute and 30 seconds, back-to-back-to-back caps in order to steal that one away. What do we see right there? Same thing, minute and 10 seconds. They make the move, they take the lead, they don't look back.
Great plays on Quadrant there. Quadrant actually outslaying Optic during that game number 4. The kills were 63 kills for Quadrant, 59 kills for Optic Gaming. So these players, they can slay with the best of them. Doesn't get any better than Lucid, TriPPPeY, APG, and Formal. And we got one game deciding who is going to go on further in this tournament. Is it going to be the favorites, Optic Gaming, who have won the last 3 LAN events? Or is it going to be a new king in town? Is it going to be Sica and the Quadrant squad, making it the furthest any European team has ever made it in a Halo tournament in the last 20 years? We will find out here in 50 kills on Aquarius.
Oh, there's one thing I can promise you. I know Game 5s on Slayer tend to slow down, but they usually speed up once a team gets 2 or 3 down. Ain't gonna be as boring as Argyle. That was a little bit of a story. Hey, let's be honest, Argyle is a slow map. It takes a while. I promise you, Aquarius, we will see some standoffs, but eventually it'll speed up. It will get exciting, and we will be painting the banners green once this game is over. I just don't know if it's gonna be the Optic green or the Quadrant one. I don't know.
Looking at the storyline thus far, the game started out lopsided. Quadrant coming out strong, winning live fire strongholds 250-39. Optic answering their own. Game number 2, 50-39 on Street Slayer. We thought it could have been a quick reverse sweep, getting 3 games in a row with Optic after they won game number 3, but Quadrant came out strong, kept their tournament life at stake, like you said, within those last couple minutes. They were able to get that capture, hold off the Optic charges, and bring it to a crucial game number 5.
And going into this Game 5 Slayer, you know, when going into that Game 2, I was confident that Quadrant could win it, because not only did they beat Optic on Slayer, but they also beat them on that same exact map. Optic go and take that Game 2, so we've split the difference here when it comes to Slayers in this layout. When it comes to Aquarius and camouflage in mid, couple of thrusters on the side, a little bit of heat wave action. Sorry, Needler ain't that good. It is good, it ain't that good. I'm not sure how much Needler we're going to see. Who do you think has the advantage here? Who are you leaning on to, whether it's Optic or is it Quadrant?
This one's so tough to call. I mean, as you looked at before, Optic won Slayer on game number 2. However, we did see Quadrant clutch up an Aquarius flag in pool play against Optic. With all that said, when I see a lot of clumping here from the Quadrant squad, that works from time to time, but I feel like Aquarius is a map you need to be a bit more spread out. Yes, you can bring in a couple people into the back of a flag as you clear out players or over towards utility in order to get the kills. But I don't feel like you are going to be successful having any more than 2 players in the exact same location. And one thing I've seen is Quadrant, when they take over an area, they bring in that 3rd member. When they're clearing out Hydra on recharge, when they're pushing on streets towards B-side or towards Cafe, they consistently were doing it with 3 players. We're going to keep an eye out for that here in game number 5. If Quadrant are bringing out 3 players in a game to a certain location, are they thriving and getting successful kills there, or are they all getting pinned down in one location by Optic?
I will say, though, one thing that gives me confidence within Quadrant going into Aquarius is when I looked at that Argyle game, what do we count? 5, 6 camouflages going in the hands of Quadrant? If you're playing Aquarius and you're giving away that many camouflages, I don't care who you are, Optic or me out there, you know, I'm the best. You're not going to win on Aquarius Slayer. So I will say, if Quadrant keep that same energy, controlling top mid when it matters most, right when those camouflages are coming up, maybe they do the impossible. Maybe they do what they did in pool play. Once again, take down Optic.
Hey, I mean, Quadrant clearly know how to run this map. CTF and TS are 2 different game types, but end of the day, you need to know how to control spawns, get kills, and maneuver on this map. Crowd, let me hear you. We got a game 5 of Optic taking on Quadrant. Tournament life at stake, backs against the wall, 50 kills, separating one team from going on further in this tournament and one team going home.
It doesn't matter what happened in pool play. It doesn't matter what happened in scrims, what happened in online tournaments. What happens right here is what matters. Game 5, on land, do or die. Optic going up against Quadrant. In the wise words of Shurs, what did he say? Shields up, weapons hot.
Formal making the push right away towards thrust and grenades all across the map from both these sides. Just pelting players left and right. Heat wave in the hands of SLG, gonna be negated. So in a situation like that, Formal isn't looking to hunt down that player, instead looking to do damage across the map. Heat wave in his sights, not able to get the kill. It is a 2v2 right now. 2 kills apiece. Lqgend trying to stay alive desperately over at the back of yellow base.
Although Formal able to do damage onto multiple players, he wasn't able to stay alive on the P side. Quadrant clear it out, but TriPPPeY gets away with camouflage and just kind of picking and waiting. Look for the backstack, goes for the 2-shot melee instead. Eventually finds the kill, but down to 1 shot. No follow through, no cleanup. TriPPPeY stays alive with the most important equipment in the game.
Yeah, has that camo. It's going to be around soon, so TriPPPeY's going to make his last potential push with this, get as much information and try to do some damage. Knows where some players at, going to clear that player up, trade out a melee, and I would say that's an effective camo. However, the kill lead not in Optic's favor. It's just a tie game despite having that power up.
Quadrant wanted to keep things close for as long as possible. You know, they stay patient, they keep it close, then they make their move. Quadrant might be just as good as Optic at picking and choosing their battles. As on board now with Sica, we see SLG forward player onto the fridge side. Sica wants to get up there with them. They can get a double push, they can make something happen, but SLG goes down. Sica gets left alone. He finds the exit route. Quadrant gonna reset.
I like this rotation from Sica. Tries to get all the way opposite side of the map. Somehow APG able to find him behind enemy lines in that situation. And just like that, all the superior position from Optic, they're able to pick off a few members down low and set up for this next camo, which is coming up in 2 seconds. TriPPPeY got the first one. Can he get camo number 2?
2 in a row for Optic. This is a much different pace than we saw in Argyle, and now we're starting to see a little bit of a scoreline differential. 13-9 lead, Optic take control, and now they're taking a hold of the resources as well. TriPPPeY making that sidekick look like a main character. Utility side is cleared out. Car side control clear in the hands of Optic.
Optic there trying to set up these pushes with his camo. So I want to go to an Optic listen-in to hear how they're going to push with TriPPPeY and this camo against this Quadrant roster.
Lqgend.
Yo, still Lqgend, Joey, still Lqgend. I'm pushing it.
I'm looking at
Lqgend, bump Lqgend, one try to switch it.
Watching. He's still stuck there. He's still
Two
stuck there.
here, one's one.
I'm coming.
Two on Lqgend, one's one on the head. 2-1. Top.
Push Joey. They push Joey.
The card.
Top.
I got one. Pink door. One in you guys.
Here, Joey. Here. Fight, Joey. Fight.
I couldn't.
There's 2 here. There's 2 here.
Two.
Back off of that,
Don't
guys.
pick one, I'm picking one.
Yo, just wait for a second.
Brad.
Just wait for a second.
Yeah, just hide, Brad.
Brad's hiding P1.
Clear blue here.
Yeah,
Spawn here.
L3 jumped up.
Oh, listen. We already have pink control a little bit.
I fell L3.
Joey.
Yo, L1 weak.
Yeah,
Check.
I'm gonna look car.
Pink one on me. They don't hear.
I'm looking red.
Shout. I'm pink whip.
Go there.
Yeah, I'm looking car, Joey. I'm looking
I'm
car.
here, Tommy. I'm pink one.
Alright, I'm not looking.
Blue car, pink jump.
Blue jump. Blue jump, Joey. 1 shot.
And blue car jump kill.
Got him.
Another blue car, L1, Tommy. L1. He might go. He's hitting L1. 2 L2. One's
yellow brick, I'm
L2.
hiding.
One's
I'm
going.
hiding.
They're sitting
I'm
L1, dude. They're sitting L1.
Yo, can we push L1?
I can't.
Okay, that's fine.
P1, guys.
Play pink.
Front yellow also. Front yellow, one shot. One's L3.
Bottom mid. Watch out, bottom mid.
Looking front yellow.
Got one.
Yellow stream. Yep. Going yellow.
Yo, go back to blue. Listen, we should wrap back the car after this.
Yeah, one's L3.
And listen to those direct call-outs there coming out from Optic Gaming. You hear Lucid consistently saying, one above you, TriPPPeY. Watch your back, Joey. They are very specific because these players are coordinating on the exact same spot. They're not just calling out where players are at without a purpose. And because of that, you see Optic right now setting up for the 3rd camo. Formal has to back down, cannot jump up and give up his life for that.
And you know for a fact he did not want to get that height advantage, but if he didn't, he would have ended up going down. So better to stay alive and not get camouflaged than to die and not get camouflaged. TriPPPeY comes up with another one. Not only have Optic gotten 3 in a row, TriPPPeY himself has gotten 3 in a row, and you can tell when the score line 10-5, picking and choosing the battles, a 25-19 lead, and we're fastly approaching that 30 kill mark.
TriPPPeY gonna decide to get some thruster, likely gonna use that later to trade out a melee when needed because he's gonna be up close and personal with these players. Decides to even thrust away after getting that first melee. Somehow barely escapes, but Sica's missed grenade stick was able to pick him off. So I would say that was fairly fortunate there for Quadrant to go 1 for 1 there against the camo TriPPPeY.
But it's still a 5-kill game. Let's make it 6 now. And Lucid controlling the high ground. Sica, he wants the P side, but he's not gonna give it up easily. Lucid, like a gentleman, introduced him to the kill feed. Clears out the P side, goes in for the double. Didn't even get his shields back, but Optic is starting to field himself a little bit. Top mid control. Quadrant, they got to make something happen off of spawn. It's getting tough.
They have to do it soon, too. One thing I'm seeing is a lot of these members of Quadrant are just down low, kind of scurrying in inferior locations. They need to keep some of this high ground, make sure that they have those backup spots so that when they do get the damage, they can push on through.
Down to one shot. Lucid goes here. Only member on the P side. We're seeing Optic sending 3 members on the strong side of the map. Formal, the first one to take down TchiK. Once it comes to 4v3, Optic want to get aggressive with it. They take advantage of those numbers. Height advantage. Lucid takes down another one. 35-23. Quadrant running out of time.
Those Quadrant members are looking for 1v1s, but when Optic are on fire, they're looking scary. Lucid is going to grab that camo, eventually taken out, and says, I know who this belongs to. Probably TriPPPeY.
We said it before, you know, Quadrant showed great camouflage control on our guy.
They do save it for him.
The same way you said that Optic can't sacrifice every single camouflage and expect to win is a double-edged sword. Quadrant haven't gotten a single camouflage this game. You're currently down by double digits, quickly approaching the end game. Something has to change, and it has to change now.
Formal picking up a double kill. This is such a tough position for Quadrant because not only do they need to match some of these kills, they need to turn this into a spawn slay. You see 3 members of Quadrant there stuck over the utility. They need to fan out and get a couple locations, whether that's car and the base. But look at this, they already have someone like TriPPPeY and Lucid waiting for anyone to round this corner into a sick double team.
Optic are just baiting Quadrant to push up. They've showed so much presence on the car side. They're daring Quadrant to push onto that car too and maybe make something happen. Meanwhile, Formal, he's covering everyone's back from long range, and if anything gets close, he has the heat wave ready.
He also knows car is safe from his teammates watching it earlier. Secondly, you saw Formal not afraid to trade that long range damage against players at Pink. When you are the anchor of your team, you want to trade that damage out. Formal getting up close and personal with SLG, getting that heat wave damage and then scurrying away.
Just 5 more kills needed. Another battle goes Optic way as TriPPPeY earns himself a killing spree. I see off the screen, we see the paint start to come in. They're commanding the troops to say, we have to clear this car side out. That's exactly what they do. Now Optic just 1 kill away from advancing forward and getting their revenge, chasing TchiK down, and there it is. Optic Gaming advance forward. Quadrant going home.
No stumbles there from TriPPPeY as he drops 21 kills in this crucial game number 5 to keep his tournament life at stake. What a performance from TriPPPeY and Optic to clutch out that series.
The run from Quadrant ends here. From being able to upset the world champions, 3-0 in pool play, from being able to take Native Red all the way down to a game 5 and just barely missing out, Quadrant get dropped down to elimination bracket. They go through the gauntlet, but eventually run to the green wall once again, and it stands tall.
Their tournament run might be over, but they are on everyone's map, everyone's radar. Quadrant, they played their hearts out. Give them a round of applause for showing up so well for European Halo here today and this weekend. Not the result they wanted. You know they had their sights set higher, but they are clearly this next generation of Halo, and I expect so much more for them in the future.